I'm looking at a map right now because we live along the same like mountain line. So Appalachian, runs from Virginia, Blacksburg, which is really not that far away from where you're at. You said you're what, Tennessee now?
Bristol. It's in the Northeast Tennessee, right where it meets Virginia.
That's right. There's Bristol Caverns right there, Appalachian Caverns, which is
Yep.
close to Dixie Caverns.
Yep. Appalachian Caverns is actually where we filmed a lot of the movie for the Hammer Witches. That's how I met
Th-
them.
How did you know that was my next question?
Yeah. Lucky guess, I guess, man.
Yeah, so it was I was gonna ask you which caverns it was because I got my map pulled up here to look at them because I was wondering if it was, part of like the same mountain trail, like mountain caverns
Mm.
that I'm familiar with, and it looks like it is.
It could be.
You've been inside the cave, the
Yeah, yeah.
cavern.
Yeah, I was an adventure tourist there for several years. I would take people down and get them off trail. I mean, there's 8/10 of a mile in the cave you could drive a four-wheeler through. But once you get off path, there's some spots I've only even been in once or twice. There's a lot of spots down in there, but the sad part about it is you'll hit dead ends and have to come back out. A lot of the chambers don't really connect into the other systems, or there's been cave ins in sections where we can't go further in the past who knows how many hundred years. But yeah, we'd take them down in there. The deepest that one of their off-path chutes would go was about 320, 325 feet below surface.
Were you at all different points of this cavern, like all the different offshoots and stuff, or did you stick to the main trail?
Oh, no, I've probably seen every square inch of that cave. I could go through that cave,
Wow.
like, with no lights on. You don't have to be blindfolded, they just turn the lights off, you can't see.
So your eyes, if even if your eyes adjusted down, have you been down there in total darkness?
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do, like Boy Scout groups and stuff, especially if
Yeah,
it's a smaller group. You get a couple people sitting around, kill all the power, all the lights and everything. You sit there with your eyes open, and depending on how active a person's imagination is, it normally works quicker with younger kids. The longer
right.
you sit there in that total darkness, the more your brain tries to create an image that it thinks it sees,
Sure.
but there's nothing. It doesn't. It's your brain tricking you, you know? So a lot of times people will see like outlines or different colors kind of forming and stuff, but it's really just the way the brain uh, triggers when you have your eyes open in total darkness for a good 5-10 minutes.
So even if you stayed down there for 5 hours, your eyes would never adjust to see
No,
anything.
no, your
Okay.
eyes would never adjust. There's no light. There's nothing. Too deep.
So,
Like
like
there's not even like a trickle of light that comes in to the deepest parts of the cave. So there's nothing that your eyes could adjust to. It's just darkness.
okay. Okay, that makes total sense. Because if there's nothing to adjust to, then how can it happen?
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been on the other side of this before because 'cause I've been a Boy Scout leader taking the group of Boy Scouts to, like, Luray Caverns and Endless Caverns
Hmm.
up here in Virginia. So,
Yeah,
like, what's
Luray's
the large
beautiful.
Yeah, oh, you've been up there before?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been to Luray. It's awesome. Uh, I've
Okay.
I've been
Alright.
to Raccoon Mountain before too. I think that one's in Gatlinburg.
I never have been to that one, but I'm surprised. I
And
thought the Luray Cavern was, like, our little secret. I didn't know that
no, no, I've been
out-of-staters knew
I've been
about
to
it.
Luray Caverns. I've been through Mammoth Cave, but I've been on the waiting list for I was. They never contacted me. But I was on
Boo.
the waiting list for the part of the mapping expedition for Mammoth Cave. I'd signed up for it and
Oh,
had been
wow.
through there and everything before, and it's just a waiting list. Like, if you wanna get off path in Mammoth Cave, there's a process, and there's a huge line. So, like,
I mean,
every caver on the east side of America, that's the dream cave to go run around and explore is because it's just endless.
okay, I was gonna say, like, it would take, like, a certain type of individual to, like, be down for something like that, but I guess there is, like, a line of, like, thousands of dudes like us that are
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Hell yeah."
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is, man. No shortage there. You'll never run out of crazy people.
What's, like, the largest, like, group of people that you've taken, like, for, like, a tour down there?
On a walking path, I've taken school groups of up to 60. So and that was the
Giant
largest, and that
groups,
was yeah,
okay.
and that was also the day we realized 60 was too many. I'm not
Alright.
playing. Yeah,
No, yeah.
you'll get up around the corner and stuff, and these teachers, man, sometimes don't quite pay attention to what the kids are doing. So,
Sure.
you've got 60 kids, you're telling a story. Kids in the back are screwing around doing stuff. Next thing you know,
Mhm.
you're in a different part of the cave, and one of the teachers is like, "Oh, I lost Timmy." It's like, "Yep, well, we need smaller groups because I'm having to keep up with them and you know?" So
So you had like a probably like a spiel or like a memorized like thing that you would say like to keep the tour interesting, I guess, right?
Yeah, and each one of the tourists kind of had their own individual feel about the cave. We had one woman that worked there who's lived in her and her family's lived right next to the cave for 70 years, 80 years or something. So she likes to go in there and like tell all the local folklore and all the local stories and this, that, and the other. And then you have other people that go in there and they want to tell ghost stories. We have some of the guys that do like a whole ghost story walkthrough. Me, when I went through, I was always focused on stalactite, stalagmite. This is iron oxide. This is calcite. I always took the scientific approach to my tours.
See, yeah, I like that too, but that is one of my questions. Did you ever have any kind of like strange experiences in the cave that were like did you ever get any vibes at any
No,
time in the caves?
okay, so yeah, and I'm a skeptic, but and I've been down in that cave a lot of times by myself. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's a little creepy, but I never got weirded out or anything. And,
Okay.
there's a spot in the cave we call the burial chamber, and it is the burial chamber. We found
Mhm.
there was artifacts found there, all kinds of stuff, right?
So literal
Yeah,
naming.
yeah, it's literally what we call that part of the cave. But
Okay.
I'm pretty skeptical, unless one sits down next to me and has a conversation. I'm like, man, whatever. And out of all the years I've done it, there was one year I was down there and it was just me, and I was changing the lights because every now and then a light will blow. You have to go down there. We've got lights ran through the whole thing. So I'm down there, I'm changing a light bulb, and I don't know, man. It was like I could feel it just staring at me, something. I kind of looked around, checked everything out. Wasn't nothing there. I didn't think nothing about it. Well, then I took a few steps to go to the next light, and it was like I heard my footsteps double. And I know that cave. I know the echoes. I know what it sounds like on the gravel. And I jerked and turned around real quick. And I was like, all right, I'm just freaking myself out, whatever. Well, I
Okay.
went and finished what I was doing through the cave. Well, after I was on my way back up, and after I got out of that room, it, I didn't feel weird. I had nothing. I was like, well,
Okay,
whatever. I
okay,
was like,
that's
I can't
good.
believe I'm freaking myself out over nothing. So I come back out of the cave and I'm coming through the burial chamber again. And I'm just, you know, humming along, doing my thing, walking my way out of the cave, and I heard something that was, like, back behind one of the big columns. We've got a couple of big columns, and that's where a stalactite and stalagmite form, and
Mhm.
I whipped my head over to the column, and I seen something about waist high just whip back around the column. So I took off running towards it. I was like, "I gotta see this." I was like, "It's an animal or something." I just barely seen it. It
Okay,
was almost
Captain
like you just
America,
seen
alright.
I kinda, like, run up to see. I was thinking it was groundhog, something else. I mean, we've even had to get deer out of the cave. You know what I
You're
mean?
thinking critter. I'm thinking
I'm
like
thinking
I'm
critter.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
like an evil, like, I don't know,
No,
something an
no.
evil
Like I said,
ghost.
I'm a skeptic. I seen something move. I'm like,
Okay,
groundhog or something, I'm gonna get this
you're
sucker."
a
So I
realist. I get it.
Yeah, so I take off towards it and come around the thing, and there was nothing there. And I was like, "Alright." I was like,
Mm.
and what's weird is the way it was, there was nowhere a groundhog coulda, like, crawled up in or anything else. And it was what I seen was too big to be a groundhog. Like I said, it was about waist high and it whipped around through there. And I was like, all right, whatever. Well, about the time I hit the trail and started walking back up the cave, the light that I had just changed the first time going down through there pops, just blows.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, I'm getting out of the cave today. I'll change that one in the morning. And I just walked out, never looked into it again. I
Oh,
was
this
like,
is
nope.
unresolved. So you're just assuming it was a rabbit or a gopher or some kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
critter.
Yeah, but that's
Okay,
that's my
okay,
own
okay.
personal experience in there. Now, other people, they've had all kinds of stories. The campground right next to it, right? So on the campground next to it, I've had campers come to me before and be like, "Man, I had a big shadow thing walk up right beside of me next to the campfire." Like, I've heard some stories, but
Okay.
again, I'm a skeptic. But as far as local lore goes, and honestly, quite a few experiences, yeah, there's definitely some activity, I guess. It's just, like I said, until I get a real good look at one, I'm a bit of a skeptic, you know?
Well, you were, working at the cave at the time, and then
Mhm.
I guess you heard that there's a film crew coming to town that's gonna be doing some filming there. How exactly did that come into your purview?
Well, the owner of the cave actually approached me, and we had been talking about doing some other things with the cave, leasing it out to other groups to do things like
Mm,
that. And he hadn't really done much of that before. Well, then he tells me, he's like, "Hey, I got more people wanting to film in the cave." He's like, "But we can't do it during business hours." He's like, I don't want to do this." I was like, "Man, I'll stay up here with them all night. I don't care. I'll keep an eye on everything. I got this. I can be responsible."
okay.
He's like, "Well, I'm gonna tell them they can film." I was like, "Alright." So I was just supposed to be there originally as a safety guy. And the guy that owns the cave, there's no amount of money you can offer this guy. If he don't wanna do something, he ain't gonna do it, you know?
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
he loves the cave. That's his life. And I was like, "Look, man, I'll stay."
Negotiation, you
Yeah, I was like, "Well,
negotiate.
yeah, I kinda
Yeah,
negotiated on behalf of the movie people, and I don't think they even know that." I was like, "Dude, I'll stay up here with them all night. I think this will be cool. I think it'll be really neat. I wanna see how it works." That was my
right.
job. We get in there sometimes 7, 8 p.m., and there was a couple of nights we didn't come out of the cave till, like, 2, 3 in the morning or later,
Now you're
you know?
talking like you're the night watchman or something, but you you were not just watching them, you were on camera. So how did that occur? How did you actually get on camera and get a role here? That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, and I really just kinda fell face first into it, almost literally. So, we're down there, and they've got a stunt guy and everything, and he's setting up his rappel gear, and they shoot this really cool looking scene, and he's rappelling
Mhm.
down out off of, we have a bridge that goes over the top, and he's got his rappel gear hooked to it. But in the scene, you don't really see the bridge as much. He just looks like he's coming down out of the ether.
Yeah,
And the scene looked cool, and they did a cut. They wanted to retake, and I think it may have been Cagney. I think it was Cagney, the producer, that was standing there. He's like, "Man, this would look so much cooler if we had another guy rappelling." And I was like, "You want me to go get my gear?" And he's like, "I actually think I do have like a whole
right
nother."
place, right
Yeah,
time.
he's like, "I
Yeah,
think I actually do have a whole nother, setup for one of the soldiers or whatever." And I was like, "Great, sure, I'll do it." And
and it fit?
yeah, well, I mean, it fit enough. It worked enough for the shots. And
Yeah,
so we did the rappel scene again, and it came out even better, and they liked it and everything. And he was talking about this character Zero that he's wanting to kind of, you know, go further into depth on, not in this movie, or maybe at another time, or maybe if he branches off and does something,
right, it's a whole
different.
series. There's
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
show
So
and a movie right now, yeah.
I was like, "If you want some help, man," I was like, "if you need another soldier for the movie, I'm there." And he's like, "Yeah, let me talk to the guys and I'll let you know." I was like, "All right, I'll see you tomorrow." Didn't think nothing about it.
Just
Came back
casual
up,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
just casual stuff. So I come back up there the next day, and he's like, "All right," he's like, "We're gonna get this little bit filmed here in the cave today." He's like, "And then we have to go film a bunch of other parts over at the dam in Elizabethton."
Right.
And there's a beautiful lake out there. It's a big dam. It's in the movie. It's awesome looking. He's like, "I'm gonna need scenes of like a lot of running and a lot of this and a lot of that." He's like, "Would you be able to do it? Wear all the gear and everything else. Wear the helmet." I was like, "Yeah, I'm on."
Awesome.
And the biggest problem we really had was my at the time I had pretty long hair, and I had beads in it, and everything else. Well, one of the problems we ran into with filming is every now and then you'd see my hair sticking out from the back of the helmet. And he's like, "Well, now I can't get nobody else to do this." He's like, "Or else we're gonna have to try to figure out every
Oh, hey,
scene."
wigs exist, but
Eh,
no, nobody else can do
yeah,
it.
well, his thought process is, "Well,
Right,
now,
right.
we're gonna see this all the
Now
time." He's
Zero,
like,
my character Zero has a long
yeah,
hair now, yeah.
he's like, "So I guess you're Zero now." He's like, "So this is what I need you to do." And
Yeah,
my
your
part,
cast is Zero, that's what
yeah,
your
yeah,
role is, and you have a
yeah.
line too, right?
Yeah, one little line, yeah. And, it was, "I got him," or something. I can't even remember now. I'd said 3 or 4 different things, but only one of them really made it into the movie. And, yeah, I mean, they had me suit up, and it was mostly a bunch of physical stuff, and the only time you even see my face is at the very end of the movie when the soldier guys are all, taking their gear off to get back into the truck,
Mhm.
and you see me there, but the rest of the time, every time you see me, I'm wearing the big witch hunter helmet, yeah.